Hello guys, welcome to Simchimba Poultry Farm, and if you're new to the channel, you are welcome, and make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any lesson that we teach here at this channel. And if you are just starting your poultry farming business, you are at the right channel to learn essential things that you need to learn. So today we've got a very special topic that we need to talk about, and today we want to talk about 7 rules of poultry farming. Okay, these are the rules you need to apply to your poultry farming so that you don't get frustrated with doing this business. So if you're new, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any video that we put in, because what we usually upload here is essential lessons that you need to learn about poultry farming, particularly broiler poultry farming. So today we've got 7 rules that we need to talk about poultry farming. So rule number 1, please guys, especially when you're doing broilers, when you're doing broilers, the most expensive things, it's the feed, the medication. I can't say it's too expensive, it's affordable, but feed, okay, and the room. So number 1, only order the beds that you can afford to take care of. And if I say to take care of, I mean the beds that you are able to feed until market time. We don't want you to get frustrated, then you get a loss at the end. So just order a small number of beds that you can manage to grow. Don't take a big number, just take a number that you can afford, a number that you can take care. That's very important. That's the very most important rule in poultry farming. Order only the beds that you can afford to take care of, because you don't need to order a lot of beds, then at the end you get frustrated to look for money for feed. When you're doing broilers, you need money, and you also need an extra money so that you are able to take care of your beds by feeding them accordingly and the way they're supposed to be fed. So please just take a number that you can afford, that you can manage to fit. Sometimes you can find you take a big number, then you find even your loom is not even enough. Then you find you start having challenges of having diseases, which is not good. Then you start losing the beds, which is not good, which means at the end you make a loss. So get a number which is small, that you can manage, that you can afford. I'm guaranteeing you'll make a profit out of it, instead of getting a bigger number and then you start having beds which are stunt, which can't grow, which is not good. So that's rule number 1. Make sure you take the amount, the number of beds that you can afford. Then rule number 2, please, all those who are especially upcomers, those who are not experts, please don't borrow money to start a poultry farm. Never borrow money to start a poultry farm unless you're an expert, because there are a lot of challenges that you may come up. You can find the whole money that you borrowed, you find you haven't even made any profit out of it. If you're not an expert, you find that your beds are stunt, they can't grow, which is not good, which means you make a loss. So never borrow money to start a poultry farm. If you need to take time to raise your capital for starting a poultry farm, take some time. So as I was saying guys, never borrow money to start a poultry farm, because there are a lot of challenges like the ones I've just mentioned. Your beds might not grow, they may be stunt, because you're not an expert. You don't know how you're going to recover from that, which is not good. Then maybe they'll be now the people you borrowed money from, they'll be now expecting money from you. So never borrow money to start a poultry farm. Never do that if you're not an expert, unless you're an expert. But as I know and as I understand, there's no expert in poultry farming. We learn in each and every batch that we have. We keep learning new things, keep learning new experiences. That's the way it is. In poultry farming, there's no expert. Every batch comes with a challenge, which means you need to learn some new lessons. You need to know that there's no one who is an expert in poultry farming. No one should ever lie to you. We always learn each and every time. That's the way it is. That's how poultry farming is. So please guys, don't borrow money. Then rule number 3, take poultry farming as a real business. Don't think it's a child's play. Take it as a real business. Like, you know, the way a business is supposed to be handled. When you are handling a business as a businessman, you wake up, you pray, you open your store, you check the stock. How is everything inside? Where you check, you count how the stock is, you check how the condition of the stock is. If it is the same way you left it yesterday, then you need to account for that. It's the same thing when you enter your poultry room. Make sure you check the surrounding, check the behavior of your beds, make sure you check all that. Make sure you check how your beds are doing. Don't just give them feed then leave. No, you need to check the surrounding, how it looks, the smell, is it clean? You need to check all that. You need to see. You don't have to have your room having ammonia, smelling, which is not good. So now that leads me to rule number 4. You need to make sure you check the behavior of your beds. How are my beds behaving? Are they drinking well? Are they feeding according to the way they are supposed to feed? Of course, you can tell, like, okay, when you enter the room, some, they just enter the room, they just reach out, they put water, you know. They don't even know, like, okay, I left water at this size, now it's this size. It's the same thing with the feed. You check, oh, I left the feed here, which means it has dropped up to here, which means my beds are eating according to the way they're supposed to eat, or my beds are not eating the way they're supposed to eat. You need to check that. You need to check the behavior. How are they behaving? Are they feeling cold? Are they rejecting the feed? They are leaving it out there. You need to check all that. How you check even down how the poo-poo looks, you need to check all that. Make sure you check that. That is our rule number 4. Check the surrounding, check the behavior of your beds. How are they behaving? How is the feed moving? Are they eating according to the way they're supposed to eat? You need to check all that. Okay, so guys, make sure you check that. Make sure you maintain, you make sure there's no smell. You check the beds are behaving well, the beds are feeding very well. You know, when you enter the poultry room, if you check my other videos on my YouTube channel, this same YouTube channel, you see, I'll tell you, like, oh, this is how my beds are behaving. You know, the beds, when you enter the room, they'll start playing around, especially when the temperature is at a good level. You see the beds, they'll be jumping up and down, they trying to fry. That is a good sign, like your beds are healthy. But if you see your beds are sleeping, and especially when they're having the stomach ache, they are having diarrhea, mostly the beds, you see them like a bed is sleeping while it's standing. That's not normal. You need to check all those behaviors. So I'll make sure I'll make another video so that I put up. But on the other video about diarrhea, how beds get diarrhea, I have the video there. You can check it out. You see how bed behaves before they even start having diarrhea in a full form. You can tell, like, oh, these beds are having diarrhea. So you need to check all that. You check, like, okay, this is how my beds are behaving. Oh, they're behaving like that. You need to tell. I've got a video there you can check, because diarrhea is the most dangerous disease that you can have in your poultry room, especially white diarrhea. Your beds lose weight like in a short period of time, and for you to recover that weight, it takes a lot of time. So make sure you check the video that I'm talking about. I'll put it right here, so that when you just check on the here, you find it at the end of the video. You'll see it here, it will show up. Then you are able to watch. Then you're going to tell, like, okay, oh, so this is how beds behave when they are about to have diarrhea, because that's a dangerous one. Your beds start losing weight, which is not good. Then I'll put the other one here, which is for litter system, so that when you watch that video, you are able to tell, like, okay, I can use this type of litter system, or I can't use this type of litter system. All those are essential in your poultry room, because they also change the behavior of your beds. So make sure you check that. So that leads us to rule number 5. Rule number 5. And then this rule that I'm talking about, I talked about it in the other videos about changing feed. There are some people who change feed because the other cheap feed is cheap. You know, these feed manufacturers, they are different. Their formulation are a little bit different. The proteins you find like they're high here, the proteins are low here, the fiber is low here, the fiber is high here. You understand? The carbohydrates are high here, the carbohydrates are not high here. Different manufacturers of those feed. So please don't change feed anyhow. And here I'm not talking about changing feed from starter to grower to finisher. No, I'm talking about changing where you are getting your feed from. And if you find feed which is cheap, I can guarantee you, and the advice I can give you, don't buy cheap feed. Okay? Cheap is expensive. We know that. You feed a lot of bags of cheap feed because you're trying to minimize your cost, but at the end is that your feed that you are buying which is cheap, your birds won't grow according to the expected weight that you want. So please buy feed which is expensive, and buy feed from the supplier that you've seen has worked for several years. Because if it's a new company, these new companies, they're just coming up. That's when they are trying their formulation. They want to see which one works better. So they need to sell them at a cheaper price so that they're able to hear from the consumers like, okay, this is what we've experienced with this feed, so that they can change. So buy feed from the supplier that you've seen like has stayed in the market for a long period of time, and people can tell you like, no, buy this feed. You know, so you need to make sure buy feed which is at a good quality for you to produce a bird which is having a good quality and a good expected weight that you want, so that you can sell it at a good price. So make sure don't just change from this feed to other feed. No, be careful, because this is the most threatening thing that usually happens. From here you go here, then you find like your birds are not growing accordingly because the proteins are not enough, the carbohydrates are not enough, the fiber is not enough. So make sure you go for the supplier which you've seen like it has stayed, it has maintained the momentum of being the best quality of feed. So don't just change feed anyhow, change from there to there. No, that's the way it is. So make sure you choose the right feed. So that leads us to rule number 6. It's a connection to feed. So you know, your birds, never let your birds, this is rule number 6, never let your birds run out of water. Never do that. Your birds can stay for 48 hours, which is 2 days, without feed, but they can't stay for 7+ hours without water. Your birds will become frustrated because they need water. It can affect your entire flock, like the all birds can be affected. You can even start experiencing high mortalities in your birds. And the poultry farmer, the most thing that the poultry farmer hates is having high mortalities in the room, which is not good. So make sure your birds have water always. Never let your birds run out of water. Unless you're about to vaccinate your birds, then you need to remove water for a period of time, which is 2 to 3 hours. For them, when you vaccinate them, they are able to finish up your vaccinated water in 2 hours time. Only in that area and in that schedule, that's when you can have your poultry room running out of water. And it's not running out of water, it's you removing out water for vaccination purposes. So never let your birds run out of water. They can stay for 2 days without feed, but they can't go up to 7 hours plus without water. Your entire flock can be affected. Then rule number 7, the last rule that you have to put into consideration: never give your birds water that you can drink. And we are not talking about water which is chemically, which you are for example, maybe you are vaccinating your birds. Okay, so make sure the water that you are giving your birds, you are able to consume it, unless for vaccination purposes, whereby you can't drink that water because it's vaccinated. Okay, same thing with water which has got vitamins, you can't drink it. But we are talking about water before you mix them with your chemicals that you want to give your birds, the drugs that you want to give your birds. Make sure you're able to drink it. But when you put the vaccine in, you put the vitamins in, it's okay, you don't have to drink it. But the water, that before you put all those things that you're putting in, that you're mixing in, before you put your boosters, before you put all those things, make sure you are able to drink that water. Then it is safe for your birds. So these are the 7 rules of poultry farming, and I hope I know these are essential. If you just follow them up, and if you're doing poultry farming, these are essential, helpful tips that I've given you. These are 7 rules that you need to have. And make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any video, any lesson that we upload on this channel. Make sure you learn 1 or 2 things and add up to the things that you have. And especially if you watch my videos, you are going to learn something essential, something that will be helpful for your business, which is poultry farming, specifically broilers, because I haven't yet started doing layers. I'm looking forward to that, but right now, since I'm still doing my broiler business, I'm still raising capital for layers, I'll be able to do lessons about layers. But right now, the reason why I usually do broiler poultry farming is because they are the ones that I'm having at hand, and they are the one I'm having experience with. So make sure, guys, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any lesson, because these are essential lessons you need to learn if you are serious with poultry farming. And this is the right channel that you've reached for you to learn a lot of lessons about poultry farming. So guys, make sure you subscribe if you're new, and if you're a subscriber, make sure you like the video so that I'll be able to see, like, okay, you've liked the information I've shared. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you stay tuned, and make sure you always watch our videos so that you are able to learn essential lessons about poultry farming. So thank you guys for watching, and make sure you subscribe. Bye bye.